Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. We're diving into something that can truly transform your relationship with English. How to think in English. Imagine this, speaking fluently, naturally, and effortlessly, without pausing to translate every word in your mind. Sounds incredible, doesn't it? Well, let me tell you, it's absolutely possible. Let me take you back to where my journey began. I wasn't always able to think in English. In fact, there was a time when even simple sentences felt like mountains I couldn't climb. Growing up in a small town where English was rarely spoken, I often found myself struggling. Every time I wanted to say something, my brain had to work overtime, translating words, forming sentences, and then second-guessing myself. By the time I spoke, the moment was gone, and the confidence, it wasn't there. But one day, something shifted. I realized that if I wanted to become fluent, I had to stop relying on translation. I had to start thinking in English. It wasn't an easy journey. It was full of challenges, mistakes, and moments of doubt. But it was worth every bit of effort. I started small. I labeled everything in my house, my table, my chair, my mirror. Even the smallest items had their English names written on them. At first it felt a bit silly, but soon those words became second nature to me. I began narrating my daily activities, out loud or in my head. I'm brushing my teeth, I'd say in the morning. Now I'm making coffee. These were simple sentences, yes, but they helped me create a habit. Over time, I discovered that one of the biggest hurdles wasn't the language itself, it was my fear of making mistakes. I used to think, what if I say something wrong? What if people laugh at me? But here's the thing, mistakes are your best teacher. Every time I said something incorrectly, I learned something new. I also started listening a lot. Podcasts, audiobooks, movies, anything and everything in English. I didn't just listen to the words. I paid attention to how native speakers spoke. Their tone, their rhythm, their expressions, it all became a part of my learning process. Then came one of my favorite techniques, shadowing. I'd play a short clip of someone speaking, pause, and repeat it exactly as they did. At first it was tough to keep up, but with practice, I began to match their tone and pace. It was like learning to sing along to your favorite song, only this time I was learning a language. There were moments of frustration, of course. I remember sitting alone, repeating phrases over and over, wondering if I'd ever get it right. But then, there were breakthroughs. The first time I had a full conversation in English without hesitating. The first time someone complimented my fluency. Those moments made every struggle worth it. Thinking in English isn't just about fluency, it's about freedom. Freedom to express yourself, to connect with others, to explore the world. It's about making English not just a language you speak, but a part of who you are. And here's the best part. You can do it too. Start by immersing yourself. Surround yourself with English as much as you can. Change the language settings on your phone. Watch your favorite shows with English subtitles. Read books that excite you. The more you expose yourself to the language, the more natural it will feel. Practice silent conversations in your head. Picture yourself talking to someone, introducing yourself, sharing your thoughts, or even debating a topic. These mental rehearsals are incredibly powerful. They prepare you for real-life situations and help you build confidence. Most importantly, be kind to yourself. Learning to think in English is a process, and it's okay to take it one step at a time. Celebrate your progress no matter how small it seems. So if you're watching this video and wondering if you'll ever be able to think in English, let me tell you, you absolutely can. It won't happen overnight, but with consistency, patience, and a lot of practice, you'll get there. Chapter 2. In this chapter, we're diving deeper into the fascinating journey of learning to think in English. By now, you've probably started imagining yourself speaking effortlessly, thinking fluidly, and feeling confident in your abilities. But how do you get there? Let's continue unraveling the steps together. When I first began this process, one of the biggest challenges was breaking free from my native language. My thoughts were always in my first language, and English felt like a distant second. I realized that to truly make progress, I had to immerse myself completely. And I mean completely. I started by creating a mini English environment around me. I replaced my favorite music with English songs. My news updates came from English channels, and my bedtime stories were audiobooks in, you guessed it, English. Even my inner voice, the one that narrates your life as you go through the day, became an English voice. It wasn't easy at first. I'd slip back into my native language without even realizing it. But each time I caught myself, I gently redirected my thoughts back to English. It was like training a muscle. The more I practiced, the stronger it became. Speaking of muscles, let's talk about vocabulary. Building a solid vocabulary is like stocking your toolbox. You need the right tools to build anything meaningful. But instead of memorizing endless word lists, I learned words in context. For example, I didn't just learn the word delicious. I paired it with phrases like, "This food is delicious," or "What a delicious meal." Context made those words stick. And let's not forget about grammar. Grammar. The part of language learning that often feels like a puzzle with missing pieces. At first, I tried to memorize all the rules, but soon I realized that understanding grammar through examples and real-life usage was far more effective. For instance, instead of studying verb tenses in isolation, I learned them by observing how they were used in conversations, movies, and books. Now, let me share a personal story that changed everything for me. I remember the first time I attended an English-speaking event. It was a small gathering of language enthusiasts. I was nervous, terrified actually. I worried about my accent, my grammar, and whether I'd be able to keep up. But then, something unexpected happened. I met someone who shared the same struggles as me. We started talking, and although my sentences weren't perfect, they understood me. That experience taught me an invaluable lesson. Communication isn't about perfection. It's about connection. From that day on, I stopped being afraid of making mistakes. I embraced them instead. Each mistake became a stepping stone, a learning opportunity that brought me closer to fluency. And trust me, the more you embrace your imperfections, the faster you'll grow. Another game changer for me was learning to describe my surroundings in English. If I was sitting in a park, I'd think, "The sky is so blue today, the leaves are rustling in the wind." If I was in a cafe, I'd imagine saying, "I'd like a cup of coffee, please." These little mental exercises made English a natural part of my daily life. One thing I can't emphasize enough is the importance of repetition. Repetition isn't boring, it's powerful. When you repeat words, phrases, or sentences, you train your brain to recognize them automatically. This automaticity is what allows native speakers to think and speak without hesitation. But repetition alone isn't enough. You also need variety. Expose yourself to different accents, different styles of speaking, and different topics. Whether it's British English, American English, or even Australian English, each variation will enrich your understanding and make you more adaptable. Another tip: celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Did you successfully describe your day in English? Amazing! Did you watch a movie and understand most of the dialogue? Fantastic! These little victories add up and they keep you motivated. As you continue on this journey, remember that thinking in English isn't just about language. It's about mindset. Believe in yourself. Visualize yourself as a confident English speaker. The power of positive thinking is real, and it can make a world of difference. Finally, surround yourself with a community that supports your learning. Whether it's a language group, an online forum, or even this YouTube channel, connecting with others who share your goals will keep you inspired. And before we wrap up this chapter, let me leave you with one of the most important lessons I've learned. Consistency is key. It's better to practice a little every day than to cram for hours once a week. Small, consistent efforts lead to big, lasting results. Thank you for staying with me through this chapter. I hope these insights resonate with you and give you the tools you need to start thinking in English. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. Chapter 3. If you've made it this far, I want to say, you're amazing. Your dedication to improving your English is inspiring, and I'm here to keep cheering you on. So let's dive into the next part of this journey together, where we explore deeper, more advanced ways to think, live, and truly breathe in English. By this point, you might feel like you're starting to get the hang of it. Maybe your inner voice is switching to English more often. Maybe you've caught yourself thinking, "Wow, I just spoke an entire sentence in English without translating." Those little breakthroughs, they're huge, and they're signs that you're growing. But what happens when progress slows down? Because, let's face it, every learner hits a plateau. I know I did. I remember feeling stuck, like no matter how much I practiced, I wasn't improving fast enough. It was frustrating. And sometimes I felt like giving up. What helped me during those moments was reminding myself of why I started. Why did I want to learn English in the first place? For me, it wasn't just about language. It was about opportunity. The opportunity to connect with people from all over the world, to access knowledge, culture, and ideas I'd never experienced before. So I dug deep and found new ways to challenge myself. I set goals, not big, overwhelming ones, but small, achievable targets. For example, I'd challenge myself to have a 5-minute conversation in English without switching to my native language. Or I'd pick a topic and try to explain it in English, even if no one was listening. Another thing that helped was stepping out of my comfort zone. And trust me, it wasn't easy. I forced myself to interact with native speakers, even when I felt shy or nervous. I joined online language exchanges, attended workshops, and even volunteered at events where I could practice. Every interaction, no matter how small, boosted my confidence. I also embraced the power of storytelling. Let me explain. When you tell a story, whether it's about your day, a funny experience, or a memory, you activate a different part of your brain. You're not just thinking about words, you're connecting ideas, emotions, and imagery. This makes your English more natural, expressive, and engaging. So, I started practicing storytelling every day. I'd stand in front of a mirror and pretend I was talking to an audience. Today, I went to the park. The weather was beautiful, and I saw children playing. It felt silly at first, but over time, it became one of my favorite exercises. Speaking of favorite exercises, let me share another one that transformed my English. Shadowing. Shadowing is when you listen to someone speak in English, like a podcast, an audiobook, or even a YouTube video, and you repeat what they're saying in real time. It's challenging, but it forces your brain to think quickly, just like a native speaker. But here's the thing. Shadowing isn't just about copying words. It's about capturing the rhythm, intonation, and emotion behind those words. When you shadow effectively, you're not just learning a language, you're learning how to sound like a native. And let's not forget about reading. Reading is like a treasure chest of vocabulary, grammar, and cultural insights. I made it a habit to read at least one page in English every day, sometimes a novel, sometimes an article, and sometimes even song lyrics. Each word, each sentence was a stepping stone to fluency. But reading alone isn't enough. You have to make it interactive. When I read, I'd underline new words, look them up, and write sentences using them. I'd pause to think, how would I explain this story to someone else? This active engagement turned reading into a powerful learning tool. Now, let me share something deeply personal. There was a time when I doubted myself. I'd hear fluent speakers and think, I'll never be as good as them. But one day, a mentor told me something I'll never forget. She said, fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being understood. Those words lifted a weight off my shoulders. From that moment on, I stopped comparing myself to others. Instead, I focused on my journey, my progress, and my voice. And you should do the same. Your voice matters, your story matters, and your English, no matter where you are in your journey, is already incredible. One of the most beautiful things about learning English is the connections it brings. I've met people from different countries, cultures, and backgrounds, all because I dared to learn this language. Each conversation, each friendship, has enriched my life in ways I can't even describe. So, if you're ever feeling discouraged, remember this. Every word you learn, every sentence you speak, brings you closer to a world of endless possibilities. Whether it's traveling, studying abroad, or simply making new friends, English opens doors, and you, my friend, have the key. Before we wrap up this chapter, let me leave you with one final tip. Celebrate your journey. Celebrate every mistake, every success, and every step forward. Because learning a language isn't just about reaching a destination. It's about enjoying the ride. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe to Pro English Skills for more tips, stories, and lessons. Keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, every step you take brings you closer to fluency. I'll see you in the next video.